Good day to you, and welcome to the first video of Bizzle Electrics. What an exciting moment this is for me, not necessarily for you. So normally when I created the Bizzle Media channel, I wanted people to subscribe to me specifically because I do all sorts of things. I love audio engineering and electrical engineering, I love my music, I love building things, and I guess I like vlogging as well. But the trouble is, generally people don't like it when you do too many things on your channel, which I think Bertie Bert G very rightly pointed out in one of his most recent videos. So this is why I've got this specific channel for electrical engineering, so there'll be less of the whole camera in the face, hello everyone, what have I been up to, and more of what I've been managed to snag off the scrap heap. This didn't come from a scrap heap. I have a friend who collects vintage VCRs. Well, not necessarily vintage, but he collects VCRs generally that have an older quality to them. He's not interested in the relatively modern ones. And he very kindly passed this one on to me, and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm not exactly sure of the precise year, roughly 1978, I think he said. Could be very much wrong on there, but the reason why he gave this one to me specifically is because it has these wonderful flick switches on the front, and he knows that I have a thing for anything with a flicky switch, and of course anything from the 70s, being my favourite decade really of humanity. So I thought I'm going to very politely and discreetly just do a small teardown, just so that we can have a look at the insides without damaging or hurting it. It is, I think, in relatively good working condition, so let's power it up first of all and see whether it works. Right, so I'm plugged in, so let's just see what happens. Oh, we've got a green light, and we've got an LCD. Some ancient LCD, which obviously isn't the full picnic, but hey, after God knows how many years, you know, after 30 years or so, it's doing very well. Ooh, that's nice. Yeah. Just interesting. And so you've got choice between TV or camera, which mode. Ooh, just heard something click in there. And this is obviously for channel tuning in the days where you literally just had a rather primitive analog connection. You would then obviously just select one channel on here and then fine-tune it with that, and you can see it's actually got a very high resolution because you have to turn it an awful lot to make the little slidey doodah move. I mean, I'm not really sure whether it would be much use today just because the connections are so strange. In fact, I was having a look in my drawers earlier to try and find some sort of coaxial connection, and although all these things look promising, they're actually too small. I've got lots of replacements, but as far as I can tell, I can't botch together a cable from what I've got, which is a shame because, you know, I collect all of this stuff, you know, with the vain hope that I might, you know, be able to use it all someday, but it's also from the days when things were constructed to last, and this machine does pretty much everything that you'd have wanted it to do back in the day. There are inputs here for camera systems which can be recorded via the VCR. You can plug in a microphone and do talkovers of your recordings. I think you can even program it to record specific programs on specific channels. So you have a weird 5-pin thing over here. I'm not entirely sure what that's for. These wonderful coaxial inputs, outputs, whatever. A remote control input, so not as remote in the sense that we'd be used to, but, you know, hardwired. This thing here, at first glance I thought it was a fuse holder, but actually it's a voltage selector. You have got a fuse there in the center, but it says voltage selector on the back, so I think, yeah, if you, well, you probably can't see, but down there it says 240 volts AC, so you probably could use this in America or somewhere that runs off 110 if you really wanted. And yes, I was right, there is a fuse in there. And chunky on-off switch. I'll tell you what, YouTubers like Aussie50 and EEV blogs, Dave Jones, make teardowns look so easy, and I guess it would be if you actually had a tripod. I thought there'd be nothing to it, just kind of talking about a piece of old kit, but actually this is actually much harder than I thought. So yes, that's what it says on the back. I guess these are all the different voltages that it can work from. Serial number, model number. Someone's scribbled something there in pencil, but I'm not entirely sure what that is. Let's take it apart, shall we? Okay, I have the camera precariously balanced. I apologise, but you might fall at any given moment, so power disconnected. Let's have a look. One thing I certainly don't want to do is damage any part of it, because this is a museum piece. Now, from what I can see, the actual top-loading cassette drawer is part of the main machine under the cover, so I should be able to lift off the cover without dismembering this bit, which obviously is a wonderful design feature. They really thought long and hard about these things, and I'm hoping to find a plethora of vintage electrical components inside. Whew. Look at that. Obviously they've put little mod components in there, a little mod ceramic cap. Ceramic caps are a relatively modern invention, which means that this thing, although it looks Stone Age, probably, was very late 70s, early 80s device. And here we are, below me down, but... So I was right, the top literally does just come off. And inside... a lot of scientific people don't really have an appreciation for the senses, but for me it's all about the sights and the smells. I'm not an electronics expert, but just looking at all of this is getting me pretty excited. And the smell, it's absolutely filthy, and I imagine that this would have been, you can sort of tell that there's a lot of nicotine in here, so obviously it was at the centre of some household where everyone chain smoked, but nothing wrong with that. And it's all very handmade with these junction boxes. There's several large PCBs in here, but generally it looks all pretty hand soldered. And of course it's, especially with VCRs, you get the wonderful blend of mechanics and electronics. So we've got some transformers at this end, which obviously will have some sort of rotary selector on them, which allows you to choose which voltage you can use in here. A lot of very early ceramic capacitors. Got loads of electrolytic capacitors, and ones from a certain vintage that did not have the safety feature, the little cross kind of grooved into the top, unlike ones like this where you can see the little groove. And the other problem with electrolytics that they used in these machines is the fact that they used some rather poisonous chemicals for electrolyte, which obviously meant that if one of your caps, if one of your big caps in, say, a vintage hi-fi system was to pop, then you potentially had quite high risk from some sort of horrible poisoning. I love these little micro switches which obviously tell the machine when things are in place or not. You know, things like this are relatively easy to repair because you can see everything and you can see what plugs into what and where everything goes. Absolutely love the build quality of these PCBs. Well, this video simply wouldn't be complete if I didn't put a cassette in this thing, so I'm going to be very careful not to touch anything when I plug it in, but why not try and play something. Now this is very interesting. When in video mode, the play button won't latch, and that's deliberate because you can hear things changing and clicking. When I change that mode there, then I can hit play. Well, as far as I can see, without electrocuting myself, it's debatable whether it could even accept a cartridge like this, but from what I have seen is that looking at the two spindles down there, when I press play, nothing actually happens. Yeah, I'm pressing these switches and nothing's actually turning, which isn't the end of the world. But then again, this thing's been built so well, it's probably because I'm not operating it correctly. There you are. So we've looked at that now. I don't think there's anything more I can tell you about it, apart from the fact that it's very interesting. I shall be going through the lab in a short-coming video. I have projects on the go. I am currently trying to fix this oscilloscope, so I shall be plugging it into the CRT tester rejuvenator, and I'm about to run out of tape, so I'm going to say goodbye and see you very soon.